Did you ever feel at any point that you were vulnerable, physically?
You know, I think I've said that before, right, to you? I mean, I think when you're going to a place like that, you don't really imagine that the thing's going to shoot through your heart. Maybe you'll get a shot in the hand or hit in the foot, but you don't really think about the things that actually happen. I think if you thought that way, then you wouldn't want to go. Ignorance.
You told me that you never thought this could happen to you, which really pissed me off.
Wait, before...
No, you were in the hospital and I said, hello, what were you doing standing up in a tank in the middle of a war? Soldier boy. And you said, I'm there with a camera. I'm there to observe. I really felt immunity in a sense that you have to feel immunity like a policeman wakes up and feels immunity, or a fireman does, or any of you who put yourselves in harm's way. And I thought, you mofo. And that's really mincing the words. You have 4 kids, buddy. Whew. All right, how did you come to write this play?
Right, I was going to ask about that. Did you?
How did I come to write the play? Oh, it's one of those great mysteries. When I write a play, or when I feel that I have a play, it's usually the outgrowth of something that I find that I've been thinking a lot about. And this play, I guess, came out of a time when, you know, waking up to the clock radio every morning, there was a car bombing every day. And, you know, it was just something that I found that my wife and I and our friends, whenever we would get together, we would just there would be sort of the elephant in the room. That here we are in our comfortable homes, and there are these horrific things happening constantly. And we are completely cosseted in our Connecticut home, and we have the good life. And just, you know, I just found that, you know, when I'd go to Los Angeles and I'd talk to my screenwriter friends, and we're all, you know, bellyaching about the state of the world and all that, a play began to emerge from the juxtaposition of our comfortable lives and the horrors that people go through. I didn't want to write an Iraq play. I wanted to take a completely different approach. I wanted it to be a home front play, but I knew nothing about what a soldier would have experienced. I have close friends who are journalists. I've been around journalists most of my adult life, among colleagues and close friends. And the moment that no, let me backtrack a little bit. I didn't know what I was writing when I began to make notes in my notebook. And I wrote a loft. I just gave myself a setting. And then I began to question who lives here. And I thought, a photographer. And then I thought, well, what if it's a woman photographer?
Yay! We liked it was a woman.
And then I thought,
that was a nice change.
What if it's a photojournalist? And then I thought, what if it's Laura Linney? And it's funny how these things happen, isn't it? You know, I have to tell you this. I have to tell you all this. I came upon those notes recently, and I wrote Laura on the page. Wow. You were there, baby, from day one. Really. It's going to the Beinecke. Yeah?
It's a love story.
But the play just began to evolve, because when I imagined this woman photojournalist coming into this loft, she was on crutches for some reason. And that's really where the play began for me, when I decided, well, what are the stakes here? What has happened that has brought her home? And that's really how plays get built. And this play has been just a joy, even though it's been hard and tough to live with the research and to live with the experience, as my actors surely can tell you, because they've played this hundreds of times now, certainly. It was not, I think, and I'm speaking as someone who has observed and lived in the writing of the play and not in the playing of the play. It was not grueling. It was exhausting, certainly, but it was also kind of exhilarating. And the research that I did was fairly comprehensive. I spoke to a lot of journalists. I read case histories. I have friends and acquaintances who are out there. A good acquaintance of mine is Ethan Bronner, who's the Jerusalem bureau chief for the Times. And when I was writing, I would just dash off a question to Ethan, and there would be the response within seconds. Lindsay Addario, the great photojournalist, is a good acquaintance of mine too, and I would dash off an email to her and get a response from Afghanistan within seconds, it seemed. So, those were my sources, I felt so strongly when I was writing the play that I wanted to do them justice. I didn't want a journalist to come to see my play and say, it's not like that. That's not how it is. This seems completely ersatz and manufactured. I didn't want that to be the case. I wanted very much to pay homage to the profession and to be truthful without being documentary about it. Because what ultimately drew me to the play were the characters, not the themes. The themes were part of it, of course, but it was the love story that really drew me to the play.
If you're talking about the love story too, because one of the most underreported part of these wars is about the families and the home front, as you said. I'm going off tomorrow to do a story that we've been doing about the Lima Company, which is reservist Marines. They're based out in Columbus, Ohio. Now they're deployed again, and we're with their families to see what life is like. They're having babies, they're getting married, they're going through stress, they have great hope, and they're proud of their brothers or their sisters or their husbands, but they're just getting no coverage whatsoever. I don't know, have there many family members that do have those, of journalists that are spending times in the wars, or veterans that have come and seen it? Have there been many that you know?
I don't know about
it's hard
that. I'm
to
sure
tell,
there have been, but
I think they'd be really appreciated by, or they'd love that you did it, that they're doing this.
Well, when you came to speak to us, I think it really validated us, I think, all of us, in a truly profound way, and I'm so grateful that I can thank you publicly, because it was so generous of you to come to talk to us. And with such alacrity and such openness. It was really lovely. It really was. And I have to tell you that when Bob came to talk to us in rehearsal, he hadn't read the play. I thought that was the most extraordinary thing. You've come to talk to us, and you haven't read the play.
Hey, you didn't read our book. Okay? Yeah.
That was deliberate, though, right?
I'm so bad.
Harsh, right?
You are really harsh.
Listen.
Yeah, welcome
Listen,
to my
you.
life.
Oh, boy. Okay. Thank you, Lee. We've known each other, 20 minutes now?
Well, that's what you think.
I think it was Brian's mom to read. She wrote it, right? She read it, right?
No, but
Your mom read it, right? Yeah. Okay.
she did.
We're Michiganders, by the way. So.
Oh, that's right. You have an. Oh!
He's from Flint. Oh, yay! It's the largest monosyllable city in the country, right?
Flint.
Yeah.
Now, did
Anyway.
you not want to read the book? I heard because
What?
No, that's what I heard. She told me earlier.
Oh, you said you didn't want it unless you were just blowing smoke up
I
my
wasn't
skirt.
blowing smoke.
That you didn't want it to.
I didn't want it to
influence
influence what I
your-
was doing when I was still working on the play.
So that's why he didn't read the play.
Yeah.
He wanted to come at this cold.
Ouch.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, though, I gave Brian a copy. I gave Bob, that's Brian, I gave Bob a copy of the play when he left rehearsal that day with my email address. And within a few hours, Bob emailed me, and he said something like, I'm on page 36, Jamie's just proposed marriage, you've got to talk to my wife. And he copied Lee on it, and Lee entered the conversation then, and my conversation with Lee via email has never really ended since then.
I don't think we should be admitting that.
But it was, but I'm telling you that story because, Bob's generosity was so lovely. It was just lovely, really lovely.
I think, and Lesley and I have talked about this, I think that, our Bob, and this is kind of an interesting thing that you don't think about when you're a journalist. When you're a journalist, we're just a couple. We're just the neighbor that lives next door to you. But Bob happened to be on TV, and he happened to be the anchor of World News. And so people feel like they know you. And it's hard when you're that person, when you're that couple's kids. It's just, oh, Dad's just on TV again. Let's shut it off and help me with my homework. And when this happened, Bob went from being the person who reported the story to being the news. Right. All of a sudden, there's our Christmas card on every network station, and we're that family. And as an 80-year-old woman said to me at one point in time, and it's such a lovely phrase, You have two choices when something happens. You can get better or you can get bitter. And nobody wants to be a bitter old lady. And you have two choices when this happens. You can go and retreat, and you can heal privately, as so many with head injuries have done over time that you don't hear about, because it's a shameful injury with so much stigma attached to it. And we must change that. And we must change that, and we must change the mental illness. The people that don't want to talk about depression that comes with the caregiving situation, or with those who have been injured, or PTSD, or combat stress. We have to give people permission to seek help and tell all of these families and all of those surrounding them that it's okay, that things happen in life that are simply bigger than you. Things happen in life that are not your fault. And just because you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which is so much our American pioneer way, doesn't work in these situations. It doesn't work when you lose a child, or you've just had a bad divorce, or your marriage has crashed and you've lost your job, or someone's been injured, or you've got breast cancer. And so many of these families are really suffering in silence. And I think we had a choice, and it's really Bob who chose, because it's really Bob's injury first. And then, of course, the rest of us got hit by the bomb as well. To say, look, this is what a head injury looks like. This is what these thousands and thousands of soldiers who are cycling through these hospitals, and none of us out here in America have any idea what they're going through. This is what it looks like. And so I have a choice. I can stand up and show you, America, what's happening, because you will usher in a generation of the 380,000 who have returned from these wars with some form of a brain injury. And whether that's internal, like what Sarah had, or whether that's external, like the scar that runs up the back of Bob's head and over to the front. And for $20 to our foundation, you can touch it after this is over. There we go. All right. I like that. Wow. Give it to a soldier. It's going to a soldier.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
That was on camera.
We'll make sure. Yeah.
We'll get you a
No, I didn't
deductible
even
thing
rehearse
for your
that, Donald. Yeah. I didn't plant her.
All right, that's why I got to play your street.
You're so sweet. Anyway, I'll stop talking. All I wanted to say is somebody had to speak up. And Donald, you've spoken up in such a wonderful way. And Lauren Bryan, you're speaking up in such a wonderful way, because we're all learning from this experience. And we're taking the shame and the stigma out of these injuries. And by the way, the divorce rate for people with a head trauma and with brain injury is 80%. And that doesn't take into account what the military divorce rate is with deployments and multiple deployments and just being separated from your loved one.
Yeah, a couple things. So when you do see the kind of injury you've got in this, you think about these new kind of bombs they got in Afghanistan. They're far more powerful than they were in Iraq, much more powerful than they were 2 years ago. And now, because of the area, the environment in Afghanistan is so different than Iraq, which was largely on big roads. So you'd be driving. Hey man, how are you? Driving down these streets, you pretty much stayed in the tank in your protected vehicle. Now you're getting off to walk everywhere. So now these explosions go off. You got multiple limbs that are lost. So these are not just simple one limb amputation. Now they're multiple ones. The other great thing about this was also really important was women in the war. I mean, to see you as a journalist, and we have a lot of friends in journalism that covered wars, women. I have no idea what the percentage is, the ratio, in terms of journalists. In the military, though, I think in 2007, the percentage of women serving was 7 or 8%, I think, of the forces. And now it's 14%. So more and more women are fighting these wars now for reasons we don't really know for sure why. But to have a situation like that, to see the woman in the middle of this, because now in the old days, it was not allowed for women to fight in combat. But now you don't know where the combat area is anymore. So they're now actually in combat, and maybe that's part of the reason why there's so many women out, because recruitment is needed more, and also women find it a little bit more excitement to go serve in a place where they actually be in the combat. So. It's true. I mean, it's unique to show a story about injured. Most of the injured that I see are guys. There are women, but a very small ratio. But that's growing all the time.
Well, on that note, I think they're telling us we have to wrap it up. It was short, but anyway, thank you all for being here, and thank you all for joining us. And that was quite beautiful.